I've never heard of someone do that in real life.
No,
I've never,
I haven't. No.
oh, the bus is late. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen.
Hello, welcome back to Bottom Up, episode 19. We are back after a little hiatus. Thank you so much for sticking with us.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, we've had. Well, my name's Ollie. This is Tibbs.
I'm Tibbs.
We've both had sort of family bereavements on both sides, so that's obviously delayed things a bit. But
Yeah.
we want to soldier on as best we can, deliver the episode that we promised a few months back.
A few months back.
Yeah. But so it's going to be a big episode. So we're trying to we'll do our best to give it the episode it should be.
We're not out of practice at all.
We're not out of practice. No, not at all. No.
Okay.
We've got we've got two, not one but two book club games this month.
Yes.
Bad games when games go bad. That being Rise of the Robots and Overblood. And then we've got the Bottom Up Awards for our favourite games of last year.
That's what everyone's been waiting for.
Yeah, the 2019 Bottom Up Awards in late February or early March.
A lot of people have been telling me 2020 hasn't really started until we've got the Bottom Up Awards out of the way.
We haven't properly finished 2019 yet, so this is we're going to do it right now. Yeah. So other than the obvious tips, how have you been? Lately? What you been up to?
Well, yeah, like you say, other than the obvious. I mean, that's it kind of overtakes everything, doesn't it? But I've been playing a few games.
Mm-hmm.
Most recently, I've been playing 2 Point Hospital.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's had the console release at last. It's kind of like a spiritual successor to Theme Hospital from back in the day. It is basically Theme Hospital. So it's great. Only a few levels in. I'm like on the fourth hospital. You get to manage a hospital. You've got to build it up to a certain level, get a certain rating, and then you can take on a new challenge at a different hospital, and it gets more and more difficult. So haven't put too much time into it so far, but yeah, it's great. I've also been playing. I bought Death Stranding, the Kojima Productions.
Yes. How have you been finding it?
It's weird. It's a weird one.
That is what I've heard. So what as best you can? What is it about?
Delivering parcels.
Okay.
Essentially. It's got a really intriguing storyline, but it kind of dumps you into it like midway, and there's all these acronyms and sort of terminology that isn't explained to you in the world to begin with. You kind of piece it together as you go along, but when the game starts, it gives you all this terminology like BTs and all these kind of weird things that you're like, I don't know what a BT is. I don't know what are these creatures and what's going on in the world. You've got no idea. But the basics of the gameplay is you have to deliver parcels from one part of the map to another part of the map. I don't know. I've heard it described as just fetch quests. Yeah. Which kind of, in a way, it is, but that would be like saying Crazy Taxi is just taking people from one place to another.
Yeah, you can. You can boil down games. That simply.
If you boil
a lot
it
of
down
games
to the
like
soul,
that.
Then, I mean, it is, but there is more to it than that. It's about sort of navigating the surroundings and working your a path through and making sure you've got enough equipment to get from one place to another But I kind of gave up on it after, I think I put about 10 or 12 hours into it.
Okay.
it just wasn't fun.
Mm.
It just felt a bit of a chore. I get what it was going for, and it's not a bad game, but I don't think I'm really gonna complete it.
Yeah.
It's just too much. It's too much like a job, you know. It's just like, yeah, I don't know. It's a real odd duck. I would say if you can find it cheap enough, I found it on sale for like 15 quid.
Okay,
If
that's
you can
quite good.
if you can get it for sort of 10 or 15 quid, pick it up and give it a try.
Just
But
as a sort of a museum, like a museum piece, almost like an intriguing thing. Yeah, that's probably what I
yeah,
would pick
kind
it up
of.
as. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you're into Hideo Kojima games, it's worth playing just to see. It's clear that the guy's got loads of ideas.
Yeah.
There's loads of tiny little details in the game. You know, it's a really ambitious game. I really don't know what to think of it. I might have to spend a bit more time with it and then come back and give it a reassessment. But yeah, I would say the one thing it really has got going for it is kind of got this asymmetrical multiplayer aspect to it,
Right.
where other people who play the game, so you've got to trek from one end of the map to another, and there's a huge sort of cliff in the way.
Yeah.
If someone else has played the game before you, they can choose to leave a ladder or some rope or something in place for you to climb over it, and you can leave a like for them.
Right.
So you can show them that you appreciate the fact that they've left something for you, and you can leave things for other people as well. You can leave parcels of supplies and things.
Oh, that's quite
So you've
interesting.
kind of got this thing where everyone's sort of helping each other, but you never see another player. It's never, multiplayer in the fact that you see the other people who are playing the game. You see traces of where they've been, and they can leave you messages and little beacons, and they can point out things on the map where there's, dangerous places and where you need to be wary of and things like that. So
Yeah.
that kind of thing's really cool. I just wish there was a little bit more, something more to get your teeth stuck into with the gameplay side of things, really. But yeah, it's definitely a really strange game. I can
Yeah.
see why it sort of divided opinions so much.
It sounds very sort of vision driven, really, doesn't it?
Yes.
Rather than let's that we need to put some gameplay in here. It's it sounds very much like this is the game I want to make. It's kind of an experimental kind of thing, I suppose.
Yes. Yeah, very, very experimental, I'd say.
Yeah.
And the other game I've been playing a lot of, well, I say a lot of, is Dreams for PS4.
Do you know what I've been intrigued by this, but I don't know much about how it works. It's kind of a game creator, a game mechanic creator, I suppose.
It's just kind of, it's an everything creator.
Yeah,
There's people making films and music and games and all sorts.
I keep
really
meaning to look up how it works on like YouTube and stuff, because it sounds like I can't even begin to get my head around how you would have a tool that can make anything. How does it work?
I've only done a few of the tutorial things, and it's kind of like you've got like a basic 3D space, and you can drag and drop different shapes, geometric shapes into it, what they call puppets, which are little characters. You can make your own characters, you can make your own little puppets. It's all in a very kind of drag and drop style, and you can scale the items and things, and then you can add a layer of logic on top of it. So you can tell the engine how the different objects in the scene will interact with each other. So like losing lives or scoring points or things like that. Or it's got a lot of the basic stuff done already. So in the basic levels, all the stuff like controlling the character, jumping, gravity, collision detection, that's all sort of baked in. But you can go in and tweak all that to your liking as well if you want. But some of the stuff that I've seen people make on it, I just don't have the first idea how they got from the basic tutorial levels into making the kind of stuff that they've done.
Yeah, it's nice.
Because I've seen there's a one on there. It's like a full recreation of a Wipeout style game with little hovercraft ships and a cockpit view and also it's incredible what they've done with it. Someone's recreated a stage of Fallout 4. There's Sonic the Hedgehog style games on there. Someone's made a Tomb Raider level with it. It's phenomenal. It's really, really good.
That's amazing.
I wanted to play on the show. There's someone did a song on there about a party. They go to a party, but they get to the house. It's just full of cats. And it's a really funny song. I just found it really funny, and it's just a song lamenting the fact that he was told it was going to be a really cool party, and he gets there and it's just a load of cats. But I can't find it online anywhere. I think it's exclusive. They've just recorded it for this game. I can't find it on YouTube. I can't find a capture of it.
Can you still get it on the game?
Yeah.
Oh, right. You could probably record it on. This is a PlayStation only game, isn't it? Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you could probably. I think you can record the gameplay, can't you, on your PlayStation?
Oh, that's a good idea.
Try doing that. Yeah, we can put it on YouTube, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm going to try that when we finish recording. I'm going to try that. And
just record it.
I can at least put it on the Pod'em Up Twitter feed.
Yeah.
It's great. But it's a real game changer, I think, because I know in a future patch they're going to be adding VR support as well.
Are they? Yeah.
So people are going to just you can just it's a whole dev kit really for an amateur
nuts,
dev
isn't
kit.
it? I mean, it sounds like Unity, or Unreal Engine sort of thing, but even simpler, but somehow just as competent. Yeah, it's nuts. As a game sort of creator, to some extent, I'm very intrigued by it.
I mean, if you've got experience in it, if you've got experience in programming in different engines and stuff like that, if you've got like a foundation in that kind of thing already, I think you'll be able to make some fantastic stuff with it. There's a demonstration level made by the developers themselves, Media Molecule, called Artstream, I think it is, Artstream. And it's just like to show you the type of things that it's capable of doing. And it's jaw-dropping.
Even as a prototyping tool, if you just want to try out an idea for a game and then build it in something more portable like Unity or whatever, that must be amazing.
Yeah, the only thing I would caution, I've heard people talk about online the possibility of people being able to sell their games on it in future.
Yeah.
I kind of think that might ruin it a bit. I know people have got a right to sort of earn from their creations and things like that, but I think part of the charm of it is just people making things and sharing things just for the fun of doing it.
I think so. As soon as you inject money into it, that's when things can get unpredictable. Then, as you say, it goes from a nice little hobby tool to something that a business model. And then, it could go anywhere from there, really.
Yeah, I think it would just suck the soul out of it a bit.
Yeah, that would be a shame, I think. Yeah, but I kind of, at the same time, I see the angle because, as you say, these people are creating stuff, and it would be nice to, if they put all that hard work, it would be nice to.
Yeah. But, definitely. I mean, if they want to go down that route, maybe some kind of, an option to tip the creator rather than selling it. You could tip them something. If you liked
everything's free, but tips that would work better, I think.
Yeah, something like that. But I don't think any of this has been talked about by the developers. I think this is people in general on the internet, now they've seen the sort of things this thing's capable of. They're saying, oh well, we I'd like to be able to sell things on it and stuff. But like I say, my personal hope is that they don't go in that direction, they keep it as it is. But I think that sums up basically what I've been playing since the last show. There's probably other stuff as well, but I mean there's only so long we've got to talk.
I know we got a lot to fit in. I'm going to. I've been playing a game that kind of, as you were describing Death Stranding, I sort of noticed some similarities in what you're saying. I've been playing Shenmue III, obviously, and I've played through all of it now. A little bit disappointed, to be honest.
They didn't give an ending, or
no. I kind of suspected there would just be more coming because I think he's planned like 11 chapters or something daft like that. So I didn't think it would come to an ending. But just the story itself, it's just a bit empty, really.
Really?
Yeah, it's that the first two games. You would start off on a particular objective, and then over the course of the game, you'd meet a certain character, some sort of event would happen. I mean, to be fair, there's a lot of day-to-day stuff as well, obviously, because it's Shenmue. But at least things would happen, throughout the course of the game. Whereas this one, you spend pretty much the whole game just looking for these thugs that have kidnapped somebody, and that's pretty much all you're doing throughout the whole game until the last 2 hours, where finally something, some action happens. And it was just a bit. I don't know. I got a bit bored, I must admit, and I was almost gave up. And I had a quick look on YouTube. See, I was only like a couple of hours from the end, and it's just you kind of go from that in that time. You kind of go from nothing to suddenly all the action happens, and the end was good. It's obviously a very Shenmue game. It's got all the components that the originals had. It expands on some of the areas quite well, and a lot of the activity that you have to do. There are more ways of earning money than the previous games, but they're all quite dull quite quickly. I genuinely I was genuinely playing this and falling asleep at times, like micro sleep, because I would go up to a character and I'd be in control and I thought, okay, I'll just go and talk to him. And suddenly I'd wake up and I realised that the conversation had already finished. I'd missed it. So...
do you think it's a case of directors like Yu Suzuki and Hideo Kojima getting to the point... I've heard the same thing said about George Lucas when it comes to Star Wars, where they've reached such a level that people are afraid to sort of tell them no with any of their ideas.
Yeah, so I think, you might be right.
So they
there,
just go with whatever they say, regardless of whether it's a good idea or not.
I think there's some truth to that, possibly. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think reviews. I looked at a couple of reviews. They said fairly similar stuff. I mean, it's not a terrible game. There's some good bits in there. It takes place in two different places, Bailu Village and Niawu, I want to say. The first is quite a nice little rural town. It kind of it works really well because there's only so many characters. There's only so many places you go. It's nice. It's quite restricted. Whereas Niao is a big kind of city. There's too many shops. There's too much distance to go from one end of the town to the other. It's just got a bit too much. I think Shenmue works better when it's just in a small, localized setting.
Yeah.
I think some reviews said similar. I don't know how fans. I haven't really looked at how the fans have reacted, to be honest. But I'm sure. I'm sure they still liked it because it's got all the hallmarks of it.
There's a couple of people I follow on Twitter who are quite vocal Shenmue fans, and they both seem to love it.
I wouldn't be surprised because I think
it's just one of those things, isn't it? Your mileage may vary.
It's because they've been waiting so long for this, I suppose. I mean, they put so much, commitment into it. I don't know. I don't want to accuse them of being like too afraid to say it's not a good game or anything. But I don't know. I think for me, having just started the series in the last year or two, I think it's probably the weakest of the three, I would say.
Yeah.
I think the first one's the best. 2's pretty good. This one, good and bad.
I hope it's sold enough that he gets to do his other chapters.
I think he will anyway. He
because the thing is, if it's got... It's this notorious game for never having completed the story.
Yeah.
It was a miracle that he got number 3 funded.
Exactly.
And if he then doesn't finish the story anyway...
It's nuts. He's got the perfect time. He's got an open goal to just complete the story. And no, he's fair play to him. He's clearly got this vision that he's had for 2 decades now about this story and how it's going to play out. And the fact that this one progresses at a snail's pace, where really you could have crammed so much more into it. He's clearly still hanging on to this vision of this epic story, and I want to see how it ends. I'll buy Shenmue 4 and 5 probably, and 6 and whatever. And I think everyone else will, just to see the completion of the damn story. So yeah, I think he's just going to carry on and do as many as he wants, really, because the same people who back the Shenmue 3 will back 4 and 5, etc.
Yeah.
So I'm not concerned about that. But
what if it turns out it was all a dream?
Oh, that'd be a kicker, wouldn't it? He just wakes up.
Just
his father's still alive.
Sleep in the dojo, and that's it.
Oh god, yeah. It'd be like 50-year franchise by then. Yeah. Okay. Well, that was Shenmue 3. Yeah, in a nutshell.
Have you been playing anything else, or do you want to talk about the Sonic movie? Or
I got one more game to talk about. Then we'll talk about the Sonic movie.
Let's hear it.
Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu, of all things.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we bought this when it came out, me and my wife, because we both got a slight history with Pokemon. We both played at least one Pokemon game before. It's got a co-op mode, so we thought we'd enjoy that. Didn't really sort of stick at the time, but it's since found a new life with me and my daughter. She's got really into it. She really loves Pokemon now from this game.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, it's really, really sweet. Because the co-op mode is kind of like the player one is the main character really, and the other one's just a support character. So it works perfectly for a young child really. So it's got that, rather than fighting a wild Pokemon, you have to sort of toss the Joy-Con to throw a Pokeball and catch them, and she loves all that. And even she loves other trainer battles to see which Pokemon they're going to have and that kind of thing. It's really sweet.
Yeah, that's really nice.
And I'm enjoying it too. I played Pokemon Yellow about 20 years ago, and it's the same story. It's the same game, same sort of range of Pokemon. It's the original 150 odd. And I'm enjoying it because I'm sort of catching these Pokemon that I remember getting before and like training them up, and it's great. I'm actually I'm thinking about getting Pokemon Sword or Shield next, just to sort of, because I'm sort of getting into it really. Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. Have you got the special Pokeball?
No, I haven't. No, I don't even know how that works. Really, it's just does it have buttons? It's just a ball, isn't it?
I think it's just a ball with a button on.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't really see cause to get that, to be honest. But
I suppose nightmare visions of the daughter throwing it through.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Oh god. I almost dropped a big stack of Duplo on the TV the other week. I was building up a big tower for her. And I said, "Do you want to push it?" And she said, "Yeah." And she just pushed it and it just fell right on the TV. Luckily, it was fine. But I thought, "Oh God," those decisions you immediately regret.
Yeah. Yeah. Instant regret.
Yeah. Okay, so cool. Sonic movie.
Yeah.
Have you seen it?
I haven't seen it.
You haven't seen it.
I was going to go see it, but various reasons. One being, it was half term.
Yeah.
And like I said to you on Twitter, I didn't want to be the only 35-year-old guy sat in a cinema full of screaming children.
Yeah.
But also, there's all this ghastly virus going around at the moment as well. Yeah. So I'm staying in Tibbs Towers at the moment until the whole thing blows over.
Yeah, possibly wise. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did go and see it in half term. I was the only lone adult in my cinema, but I don't care because I was owing it to, as I said in the previous podcast, I was owing it to child Ollie to go and see it, and I enjoyed it. I did enjoy it, as a lot of people have. To think where we started with this movie, and the whole thing about the first design. What a turnaround this is. This has been. It's like a rags to riches story, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's the most successful video game adaptation ever, I've heard.
I've heard the same.
Yeah.
The litmus test for me is always, do the critics like it or hate it? And the more critics hate and criticize something, the better it usually is.
Yeah, I know.
There was tons of backlash for the Sonic movies, and it was mediocre and boring and all this kind of stuff. So I thought it's probably going to be great.
Yeah.
And all the people who've seen it, like YouTubers, gaming YouTubers, and things like that, the overwhelming consensus is it's just a really good film.
Yeah, it is.
It's not going to change the way you think about life or anything, but it's just a good fun film.
It's a good fun family film. I think fans will enjoy it because there's a lot of, while it's a completely original story in terms of anything that Sonic's done before, it still pays great respect to the series. There's loads of little Easter eggs and stuff. You can tell that they've actually wanted to, be respectful to the fans rather than taking a couple of ideas and going a completely different direction with it, as some other movies have done. It's there's that for starters, and then it's just great for families. Kids love it, and then there's enough for the parents to enjoy as well. There's lots of sort of jokes that go straight over the kids' heads, and picked up by the adults. And
is Sonic himself quite likable in it?
Very,
Because
very.
from the trailers, I get the impression that Jim Carrey's Robotnik is sort of carrying the performances there, but you don't really get to see that much of Sonic's personality in the trailers. Is he likable, or is he just sarcastic and a bit 90s?
No, honestly, I think it's one of the most likable versions of Sonic we've ever seen. It's really, really good. He's just, you want to hang out with him because he is, he's funny, he's charming, and he's got the right sense of cool and sort of attitude and self-confidence about himself. But he's also like really kind of happy and really friendly and, he's and funny. And he's just, he's a really, really great interpretation of the character, actually.
Oh, brilliant!
And Jim Carrey's really good as Robotnik as well. So it's it's definitely good. The only thing I'd say about it is the best stuff that happens in the film and probably the funniest jokes, we've all seen them before in the trailers. So while there's some other stuff in there as well, like some nice surprises, particularly at the very beginning. You kind of feel like if you've seen the trailers a lot, the film is kind of, everything else is just kind of tying all those key moments in the trailer together in terms of the action scenes and whatnot. You can almost kind of put this, if you look at the trailer and think about it, you can almost put the story together yourself, and then that's the only thing I'd say. And that's more a comment against, trailers and the fact that things are spoiled beforehand rather than the film itself.
I'm going to say a lot of trailers tend to do that.
Yeah.
They tend to go from one extreme to the other. They either do that, where they spoil the whole film, or they fill the trailer with a bunch of stuff that isn't even in the film when you go and see it. So, either way, they're not ideal. But, yeah, that's really good to hear. I don't know if I will go see it in a cinema or if I'll wait for it to, to come out on Blu-ray. But, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing it either way. I think from the trailers, it looks really good. So, to get that confirmation, I think is, that's enough for me. I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Yeah, it's just a good Sonic film. It's a good family film. It's very good. Recommended. Right, have we got any news bits? We might have to make it fairly quick, but any newsy bits that we want to talk about?
Just as we were setting up to record, I saw on Twitter that there's a Space Channel 5 VR game that's just dropped.
Oh, it's just dropped. I think I'd heard it was coming. I think.
I'd never even heard of that. I didn't even know that was a thing. So I'm going to be getting that later.
Oh, right. It rings a bell that it has been discussed before, but I didn't know. What, is it out now? Is it?
I think so.
Okay. All right, cool.
Yeah,
I must be honest, I've never played the original.
Oh, okay.
I'm not really into rhythm games. I'm terrible at them. So it's I don't know if I'll be picking it up myself. At least not before I play the original. And I don't have VR anyway, to be fair. So. But in VR it's
running then. But that's an interesting little thing to see there. The Final Fantasy VII sort of first few minutes of the remake of I don't know if it was like a trailer or the opening sequence and stuff. That's been released.
I think it's the first few minutes. I think, isn't it? I haven't seen it, but I remember seeing that.
Not seen it?
No, I haven't got around to looking at it.
I don't know if it's for me, really.
No, I got that impression from previous podcasts.
Yeah, I'll play it, but it just seems to have lost. I don't know. It just doesn't seem as charming to me. Like, they've made all the characters all realistic, and they've given them all voice acting, but they all do this. I'm not the first person to talk about this little quirk, but since someone pointed it out to me, I can't stop hearing it. It's really annoying. In anime dubs and particularly Japanese games and things that have been dubbed into English, they all make funny sounds with their voices. Like, there's a bit where the train pulls up in the station and one of the characters looks up at the train and goes, And they keep making these funny voices, and people don't do that.
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, that sort of yes, yeah, that noise. Yeah,
I've never heard of someone do that in real life.
No, I haven't. No.
You know, the bus is late. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. Yeah. And I can't not hear it. That was being pointed out to me. And that kind of spoiled the trailer for the thing for me a bit. I thought, if they're going to be doing that for 160 hours of gameplay, but it'll do well, and it does look like they've put a lot of effort in. I don't know if it's for me. I think I've got too much of an attachment to the original, really. But a lot of excitement around it. So
I don't mind the concept of it. I just don't think I have the time to play that. I mean, it's just the fact that they made a whole game out of the first, fraction of the original game.
The first tiny fraction.
I just can't do that. It's going to take me years to get through the whole thing. So, I don't know. I might have to put that one on the back burner for a bit. But I'm interested to see how it does. We've got PS5 and Xbox Series X stuff.
Yeah.
I mean,
we don't really have much in the way of concrete details at the moment.
No, but the Series X, it's a tower.
Yeah.
What's that about? That's not going to fit under my TV.
No, it's not, is it? Yeah. It just made me think of all the jokes back in the day when the original Xbox came out, and people just said, "Oh, it's just a PC in a box." It's come full circle. It's just literally.
It literally is just a PC in a box. Yeah.
It's just a PC. They're not even hiding it now.
No.
I mean, I don't
know. I've heard that it's not really going to have any exclusive games as much as PCs will be able to run any game, and even Xbox Ones will be able to run the same games. I heard. I mean, I don't know how. Okay, yeah. So it's kind of like the only other example I can think of that is a Game Boy Color was forwards compatible, wasn't it, with the previous Game Boy? That's the only other example I can think of. Another console's never done that otherwise, was it?
A slight tangent. I don't know if I've mentioned this on the show before, but I bought. They were never released in the UK, but in America, Burger King released a series of 3 promotional games for Xbox 360.
Oh, right.
Sneak King, where you have to creep up behind people and give them a burger. Some kart racing game, and I can't remember what the other one was. They're not great. I bought them just for curiosity's sake. But a really interesting thing about them, if you play them in the 360, you get a 360 version of the game with all the achievements and graphics and everything. If you play it in the original Xbox, it's got a sort of a downgraded Xbox version of the game on the disc as well.
Oh, that's really cool.
I don't know if there's any other sort of dual format discs. They might be the only ones I've ever heard of where it's a separate game for a separate console on the same disc.
Yeah,
really curious.
I think that is how the Game Boy Color does it. I think it's got an entirely separate Game Boy version of each game. The first ones, anyway, until they sort of upgraded them. But that's really weird, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really interesting. But I mean, the Xbox, I like the the Xbox One. I never bothered upgrading to the One S or the Xbox One X or anything because it just doesn't. I don't know. I'm not saying there's no games for it, but there's less sort of really quirky, interesting games that PlayStation's got. Because I like really weird, bizarre, silly games. I like lots of mid-range indie type games or small studio games, and Xbox doesn't really have much of that.
No.
So it doesn't get nearly as much use as the PlayStation 4 or the Switch for me. So I'm a bit less excited about the Xbox Series X or whatever it's called until they need something that's really exclusive to them that makes you think, wow, okay, that's
something different.
Something different.
Yeah, definitely. They need certainly more original content and more sort of quirky stuff. But it does all come down to the games, and we don't know any games for either system yet, so it's far too early to say. I think
for being backwards compatible.
Yeah.
And if the rumours are true about the PS5 being backwards compatible with all previous generations, then I think that's a fantastic step forward.
Definitely.
As long as it's done properly and it's not, we'll sell you the games again from the store. That's
exactly.
not.
I must admit, it does sound a bit too good to be true that you can just pop literally any previous PlayStation disc in and it'll run. I kind of feel like there might be caveats coming to that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's quite a difficult thing to do anyway, and keeping their costs down. I mean, I've heard they're having trouble keeping their costs down of the system anyway, so it may be that contributes to that.
Yeah, the rumours are it's going to be sort of £500 at launch, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's going to be, compared to, when you can get a Switch for around 200 if you shop around, launching a console at £500 is going to be an uphill struggle, I think. But a lot can happen in a year, so we'll have to see what comes of it.
They all start slow and then kind of pick up the pace as the generation carries on. I mean, I didn't get my PS4 until 2017, which is a good, I think, 4 years after the generation had started. So I think
same. Same with the PS1, 2, 3, and 4 with me. I never got them at launch.
No,
I got them a bit further down the line. But it'd be exciting to see what's coming.
Yeah, I mean, it's a new generation. It's always exciting, isn't it? Really, whether you're in it from the ground floor or not.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So, okay, is that any other newsy bits?
No, I think that's it.
Should we officially name that's the section of this podcast just newsy bits?
Newsy bits, yeah.
Yeah, newsy bits. Yeah, it doesn't really have a name. It just sort of flows in from the previous section, doesn't it? But yeah. Newsy bits. Okay. Next section is incoming indies.
Yes.
Do you have one? Would you like to?
It's not really an indie. I was going to go for. I was going to suggest the Wonderful 101 Kickstarter from Platinum Games.
Oh yeah, I heard about this. I don't know. I'm not familiar with the original game, other than knowing of it.
Same here.
Yeah.
I don't have it. It was a Wii U exclusive.
Yes. Yeah.
So obviously only about 10 people ever played it.
Yeah.
It's meant to be good. I like Platinum Games. It looks the arts. It's got kind of the characters have this kind of Beautiful Joe kind of art style to them.
Yes.
And it just looks good.
What genre is it? I've never been able to work this out.
I'm not sure. I think it's kind of. It looks a bit like Pikmin from the video.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Lots of people, knocking about. They sort of all crowd together. I don't really know what it's about. I'm taking it entirely on trust, to be honest.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
I like Platinum Games. Most of the stuff they've done, it's a mark of quality. You see the Platinum Games logo, you're in for a good time. On that basis alone, I've dropped 20 quid on it, or however much it is for the Switch version.
Okay, that's quite good.
And that's my recommendation. Back it, and you won't be disappointed. That's the pod 'em up guarantee.
Bold guarantee. Yeah, my incoming indie is a game called Eastward. Not Clint Eastwood, it's Eastward, as in going east. It's a top-down Zelda-like action RPG, dungeony sort of thing. It looks really nice. There's not much else I can say about it. Well, it's kind of set in a.
I thought my Wonderful 101 pitch.
I know. I mean, I've summed it up really because I love Zelda. So, and it's been too long since I've actually played a Zelda or a Zelda-like. So, I'm kind of looking forward to this. It's sort of a colourful kind of post-apocalyptic world, not like too depressing one, but I think post-apocalyptic in some sense. 2 characters. One of them has a frying pan as his main weapon. That's all you need, really, isn't it?
Sort of.
Yeah. So, puzzles, monsters, wandering around, talking to people.
Is it PC, console?
Everything, I think. Well, I'm saying that, I don't know, but probably. Everything.
Well, maybe
everything.
It'll come out on something.
I'm going to do it on PC. I know it's coming out on that, but because they had a limited time demo, which I missed. I don't get these limited time demos.
I'm going to say, they can knock that on the head.
Yeah.
What's wrong with just having the demo and just being the demo?
Yeah,
and that's
tell me about it. I'm seeing a lot of these lately, especially on PlayStation. Like, it's only there for like a week or so and then it's gone. I'm like, well, what's the point? It's only a level. I mean, just let us keep it, you know? It winds me up. But anyway, apart from that, it looks like a good game. I think that about sums up everything that we were going to say before we get into the meat of the matter.
The meat and potatoes.
The meat and potatoes. One of them is meat and one of them is potatoes. Only you will find out soon. 2 games. We picked bad games this month because we've done far too many good games. So my pick was Rise of the Robots, and your pick was
Overblood.
Overblood. Too much blood. So we'll take a short break, and then when you come back, you're going to find out how we fared with these terrible, terrible games. Well, to be fair, one of them's terrible. The other one is not that terrible, I reckon.
Yeah. But which one's which?
Which one's which? Ooh.
Oh!
Right. See ya.
Right, that'll be that then.
Yeah.
See ya.
See ya.
Bye.
Welcome back to Pod 'em Up episode 19. As we've just said, you probably haven't gone far since then. It's only just been a bit with the music in it, so you're still here. Rise of the Robots.
That's great.
Yeah, developed by Mirage, published by Time Warner, released on a number of formats from November 94 onwards, including Amiga CD32, PC, Super Nintendo, Mega Drive, Game Gear, Philips CDI, 3DO, and eventually an arcade version. A lot
you
of
just
formats.
read that straight off Wikipedia, didn't you?
Yeah, I did, yeah. Yeah, I played the Mega Drive and the SNES versions. Which versions did you play?
Just a Mega Drive.
Yeah.
I've got it on Amiga,
okay.
but I didn't want to dust off the Amiga and set it all up. So
no, it's not worth it, really.
It's really not. No.
Yeah, I mean, we'll go into it, but I think the most interesting thing about this game is the stuff surrounding it rather than the game itself, isn't it? Like the sort of the hype around it. I think that's what makes this game a noteworthy bad game. Yeah. And the sort of reaction to it and stuff. But anyway, we're going to get into that in a minute. Basically, as a summary, it's a fighting game. You control. Well, it's a fighting game of robots. That's the sort of gimmick there. They're all sort of pre-rendered, so which was a big deal in '94. Bit of a trend at that point, I think. Spent a lot of time modelling these robots, making them look cool and everything. Put them in these games. You only control one robot though, as he fights a series of other robots, which is kind of more limited than a typical fighting game where you can usually pick your own character. There's a plot of sorts. It's set in the future where machines moderate pretty much everything. And a super advanced computer AI gets a virus and begins to develop self-awareness and attempts to escape its confinements in order to destroy the world. Yeah. And only one robot apparently can battle its way through. A cyborg called Eco35-2. Catchy name up there with
Sonic,
Mario, Spyro, Mario, Ryu. Crash, Ryu. It's unforgettable, really, isn't it?
Iconic.
It's got a human brain, which makes it
not a robot.
Not a robot, therefore incapable of getting a virus. And it's got emotions and stuff, and able to fight off these robots. And that's kind of it, really. It's very, very basic game. And I got to say, on the Mega Drive, it looks awful.
It does,
absolutely,
doesn't it?
like trash. I mean, compared to the SNES version actually doesn't look too bad. I think this is one case where I think the limited palette of the Mega Drive really isn't best used for pre-rendered stuff, I would say. Because
One
you've got...
can only imagine what the Philips CDI version is like.
I don't know. I didn't
But no,
venture down that path.
it's not the Mega Drive's finest hour.
Definitely not. No, and I mean, I think they could. I think they could make it better. But I think the as part of the story behind this, they had so many ports to do that they probably couldn't spend too much time on each. And I think the Mega Drive got the short end of the straw there by the look of it. I mean, it looks awful, sounds awful. Even in the intro, like the game can't, the Mega Drive can't handle it. So did you notice like the stuttering of the music as it tries to process this kind of pre-rendered intro scene that you barely can tell what's even happening in it anyway? To be honest, it looks so kind of grainy and limited color-wise.
It's one of those things where I think a lot of the games that get a bad rep, people are looking at them through, a modern lens.
Yeah.
And they don't really appreciate the fact that back when it was released, it was really impressive. Like, say something like Flashback or Another World.
Yeah.
If you looked at that now, people might think, oh, well, it's rubbish. But back in the day,
oh,
it was
yeah,
really,
of course.
It's incredible.
Yeah, yeah.
I think Rise of the Robots always looked bad for the Mega Drive.
For the Mega Drive.
The Mega Drive version, I don't think ever looked good.
No. I mean, they put a lot of effort into these robots, and they do look cool. Like if you look at the renders of them and everything on some of the better versions, they're cool looking robots. You can see the inspiration from like Terminator and stuff like that. They're good. They're a nice bunch of robots. And as this game was building up hype, people had quite a bit of a following. You mentioned last time Bad Influence covered it quite a lot, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I wasn't really paying attention to games media at this time. I'd only just sort of got into games, and my knowledge of it sort of extended to whatever my friends knew about games and whatever. I didn't really even start reading magazines until probably the end of, or probably maybe '95, I think. So this game passed me by completely at the time. So I didn't get to see all of this hype building up, but I've read about it, and I can kind of see why, because it had this AI thing going for it as well. Like supposedly this AI was very clever at kind of countering your moves and all sorts of other stuff. But I think from what I've read, it boils down to a very basic kind of formula of when you've done a certain move the same number of times, it will do a set counter to it, and that's kind of pretty much it, really.
That's pretty much it.
And I've read things that like developers done all these sort of AI, complicated AI tables, and as a programmer, I can kind of see why. Because say you wanted to do proper collision detection as an example, between two characters, and you make a complicated algorithm to look at all the individual pixels to make sure that whether they're really truly colliding. You could do that, but probably no one would tell the difference if you were doing that or just putting a basic box just within the confines of the sprites. For most intents and purposes, it won't make any difference, and you may as well do it the simple way. I kind of feel like that's what may have happened in this game. Like they've put so much effort into making this AI and going about it like a really this complicated system, but ultimately their system,
does it actually add anything to the game?
No, and you won't even be able to tell the difference between that and a much more basic one in another fighter.
Yeah. I had an argument with someone once about the Lord of the Rings films. I'm going on a tangent again now. But apparently there's, I don't know if this is true or not, but in Lord of the Rings, when it goes into, I don't even know, Bilbo's house or whatever, there's all these books on the shelf, and apparently all the books are handwritten in Elven script. He never opens any of the books.
Yeah.
And I argued that's such pointless. It was what a waste of time and money and effort. And he's like, it adds to the world. It's world building. Oh, that's great. I was like, it don't make a difference if no one opens the bloody books, does it?
No, I'm totally with you there. If it was something you could go, if it was something you could go and experience, that would be one thing, and pick up a book yourself and look at it. But that's ridiculous. That is.
Yeah. And I guess it's that it makes me think of that kind of thing. It might be really impressive under the hood if you know all the things that have gone into it, but to the end user, the person who's playing it, it doesn't matter if it's pixel perfect or hitboxes. As long as the game works, you go with what works.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just looking at what else we can say about it. I mean, the backlash against it, it varied from what I've looked into it, because some magazines gave it really, really good reviews, and some gave it rightfully so, terrible reviews. And I think you could kind of tell which ones might have had some sort of financial deal with them, possibly. It's quite interesting. I looked at a video, I think it was Kim Justice, and yeah, it was it's quite funny. Just that he literally went through a list, and it was like on top. I think one of the ones that gave it a good review was what are they called? CVG, Computer and Video Games. I think they gave it 91% or something. It goes all the way down to, I think it was Amiga Power that gave it 5%. And I mean, has there ever been a game that's got such wildly different review scores?
I can think of a couple.
Okay.
I can think of the Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace game. PlayStation Magazine, official UK PlayStation Magazine, gave it 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
The month after they were invited to Skywalker Ranch to preview the game. I'm sure that had no influence.
No, of course not. No,
they gave it 10 out of 10, and the rest of the world gave it 3s out of 10.
Yeah.
You know, they probably just really liked it.
Yeah.
You know, and then there's a whole Driver 3 situation as well, which I think we touched on briefly in another show. But yeah, it does make you think when there's such a gulf between scores, doesn't it?
I can remember an early Sonic 06 review that gave it 92 or something, and it was noticeably the first one out of the gate. So, you know, how did they get that early review? You know, who can say? But it's just a shame, really, isn't it? I mean, for one thing, because you kind of trust these. Back in those days, before the internet, you would trust these magazines to give you.
Yeah, that's all you had to go on.
And then if you, and then it becomes obvious, really, doesn't it? Because if you're going to accept that bribe, let's call it, and then put it out there, surely you've got to watch your back when the other magazines who didn't get the bribe give it a brutally honest review. I mean, it makes people start asking questions, surely.
I don't know, because it seemed to happen a lot back in the day.
You know. Yeah, maybe we were just less perceptive then. I don't know. Without the internet, you know, there's less of a hive mind, isn't there? You're just a sort of an individual. It'd be more like oh, that's interesting, and then just move on with your day, I suppose.
And magazines were expensive as well. That's the thing. I mean, PlayStation Magazine was a £5. I think CVG was one of the cheaper ones. I think CVG was only like £1.50 or £2.50. But still, it's not like you were buying a lot of magazines. When we were kids, you would generally get, you know, a magazine a month, 2 if you were lucky, maybe. So maybe we just didn't compare and contrast the different review scores.
I think that's it. Yeah.
I think we're probably a theme we'll find with this and Overblood, and I think probably when if we do another show like this again where we pick, you know, notoriously bad quote unquote games, I think there's a kernel of a good idea. There was obviously an intention to make something good. And it just got away from them.
I think
either it was too ambitious or whatever the reason, time, money.
Yeah.
But there was definitely an idea that's worth pursuing there.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, a fighting game about robots on paper sounds brilliant.
Yeah.
You know, there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
And, you know, as I say, the robots look cool. The whole AI, the whole ambition with the AI, you know, for the time would have been very interesting. I think the problem was basically at some point along the development, Time Warner got involved as the publisher, and from what I've gathered, that it was them that decided it should be on everything, whereas before it was only going to be on PC and Amiga. I think it was them that said, okay, we need. They blew the whole thing out of proportion. Basically, it needs to be on all these formats all at the same time. It needs to be, you know, we're going to make a toy line. We're going to make, you know, an animation alongside it, possibly a movie. All this kind of, you know, merchandise. They were planning on making a big thing out of it. So I think it was the pressure of that, making all those ports, and the fact that it was just building up.
Too thin.
Yeah, exactly. And the hype building up to it, people were getting frustrated because I think it was like 2 years from the time it was first mentioned to the release, and that back in the day was a long time. That's normal wait time now, but in those days, games kind of took a year or so, and you didn't really hear about them for, I'm guessing a few months before release in a lot of cases. So, I think people were getting a bit impatient with it, and I think it was just the pressure, and I think it kept missing these deadlines and just had to get something out by Christmas at the end. So, yeah, I think it was all a bit rushed at the end. Where we haven't talked about the game much, it's just because there's nothing much to say about it. I mean,
there's not really much to talk about. I mean, it's a fighting game, but in an era that had things like Street Fighter 2 with its the combo systems and the range of characters and the balancing of the characters and it could make for a really competitive game. Rise of the Robots doesn't really have any of that.
No.
It's one of the most difficult to control games. I don't think I've ever managed to pull off any of the special moves as they are.
I wasn't even aware there were any special moves.
I'm not even sure if there are.
No, I don't think there are.
I really don't know if there are.
No.
Even button mashing doesn't work. No. It's just a really difficult game to control.
Yeah, I think it's because it's partly the animation thing. I think they've all got to do these certain cycles of animation, and it's difficult to get any sort of rhythm out of it because of that. You can only play as one character. You've basically got, I think, five or six other robots to fight in a sequence.
6, yeah.
That's it, really. There's no continues. If you lose one round, you're back to square one. Not round, but one fight of 2 rounds. And it's just, which is obviously just artificially extending the life of it. I think there's a 2-player mode, but one of you has to be the basic robot. You can't just pick from the other robots.
What's his name without looking?
Eco 27 or something, isn't it? Oh, well, I got the Eco bit right. Eco 35-2, and I got a 2 in there.
Yes.
Very good. I wasn't expecting that.
No. Okay.
Yeah, it just goes to show, don't name your character a sort of a model number.
No.
But yeah, I mean, I've got other notes on it, but it's just, yeah, it's.
Would you recommend it?
No, surprisingly.
No, I can't say I would.
No, that's my second no of our entire podcast, and that's your first no, I think, isn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, there's that one. There's also Overblood, which was your pick.
Yes.
Yeah. So Overblood. It's a bit like Overblood, but just stars chickens. Yeah. Thanks. Developed by River Hill Soft, them. Published by Electronic Arts and released for the PlayStation in May 1997. It's a survival horror game. Ooh. Yeah, it's a corridor walk 'em up. I described it in a tweet at some point. So you play primarily as Raz Kasi, who was
the unfortunately named Raz Kasi, being that Kasi is British slang for toilet.
Yeah. True. Yeah, I didn't even spot that actually. Yeah, it's different spelling, I think, but yeah, Raz Kasi, who is just awoken from a cryogenic container with absolutely no idea who he is. You begin exploring a scientific facility, and it becomes apparent that some sort of virus has taken hold of the scientists working there. I've just noticed both of these games feature a virus, and our current predicament in the world features a terrifying virus. So, yeah, a bit weird, that, isn't it? Yeah, synergy. So yeah, they're all being turned into zombies, these people, by this virus.
Yeah, zomboids.
Zomboids, yeah. And the whole game takes place in this facility. as you attempt to uncover the truth about who you are and what happened there. I gotta admit, I didn't hate this game. Really.
No.
I kind of liked it in some ways. There's a certain unintentional charm to it that
yes, definitely.
that perhaps comes from retrospect rather than maybe at the time.
Yeah, I mentioned the reason I picked this game.
Yeah.
Was because it was featured on Consolevania.
Mm-hmm.
They described it as a B game in that it's a B movie but a game.
Yeah, very
and
much
I
so.
think that is the perfect way to describe it. It's just a B movie, but it's a game form.
And it's got that B movie charm in the same way that B movies do. You know, it's kind of got that a bit ropey kind of quality to it. That's, you know, if you didn't spend a lot of money on it, you can see you can find something to kind of enjoy about it, really, in a way.
Definitely. You've got like a little companion in the game, though, don't you? It's not just Peepo.
Peepo, yeah, who makes quite irritating noises. He's a little robot. Yeah, so you.
Peepo, is that all you can say?
The voice acting
is stellar.
I mean, it's stellar, but it's kind of typical of the time, I would say, across the board, generally across the board of games. You know, the late 90s was not the pinnacle of video game voice acting by any stretch of the imagination. But he does an okay job, I suppose, the guy voicing him. You know, he's got a lot of lines to learn, cut him some slack.
Yeah. No, it's good.
It's all right, yeah. There's a certain weird quality to his voice that I wouldn't have picked him to voice. Just, I don't know, he sounds a bit odd. Sounds like almost like a guy from The Office, he probably was, to be fair, because a lot of them were. They couldn't really afford proper voice actors from the cinema or whatever.
I kind of regret the fact that we're doing a podcast rather than a YouTube show, because I would love to show a clip of Peepo attacking one of the zombies. For my money, it's one of the best scenes in all of video games. It's just fantastic.
Do you know what? I can't even remember that. I may not have seen it. Do you have to be? You have to be the zombie when you attack him? Do you? Sorry, you have to be be Peepo when you attack the zombie.
No, it's like a little cutscene bit.
Okay.
And he's got like his little grabby claw.
Yeah.
He basically looks like a Henry vacuum with like a claw on top.
Yeah.
And he just sort of grabs the zombie around the neck with his claw, and he's just sort of wobbling about, and it's great. I love it.
Oh, okay, yeah. The premise of the game is just wandering around trying to figure out who you are. You can the controls. It's good old tank controls, which are, pretty frustrating. There's 3 different camera angles you can do, but they all have their limitations, I found. You can do a first-person one, but you don't really get the full view. You can do one that's just behind him, but it usually gets stuck. And then if you just leave the other one, that it sets the camera angles up for you, which can be quite disorientating when you move around and you suddenly change a new angle.
The controls are a little bit quirky as well. They're not just the normal tank controls, in the sense that if you examine an object standing up, you'll get a different result than if you examine the object crouching.
Yes.
And in the first area, it kind of just drops you into it, and you start playing it, and you think it's kind of standard Resident Evil type thing, where you can walk up to an object, examine it, and you'll get a line of text saying what it is and whether you can interact with it.
Yeah.
And you do that for a while, and you realise that you've examined everything, nothing's happening, and you're not progressing at all. And then you realise if you examine the same object but you're crouching, you'll discover something completely different. And it's the only game that I know that's ever done that.
Yeah. I was going to say, this is actually my first survival horror, because I'm not big into horror, so I've always kind of avoided them. And this one isn't scary at all, by the way. The only bit that comes even close to being a bit of a jump scare is when the zombie falls out of the elevator, that sort of pre-rendered cutscene. And if you happen to be drinking some tea at a time, you might have a bit of a spook, but other than that, I think you'll be fine. But yeah, so I didn't know a lot of the conventions for the genre, to be honest. So yeah, that whole thing threw me. And actually, it's the only there is a save system in this, which is actually quite liberating for the time, in that you can save literally anywhere.
Yeah.
But you have to find it. You have to earn it. Did you find the saving system? The dictaphone, yeah. You have to do what you just described. You have to. I think you open a little suitcase or something, and if you just, as you say, if you press X on it while standing up, you'll get something. But if you crouch down, you'll get the dictaphone, which allows you to save, which is so easily missed. I can see people probably rage quitting this because they'll keep dying and then not figuring out that they can save it. Yeah, I know, it's nuts. I only found out just by looking on YouTube, I think. It's bizarre choice, that, because you will die a lot in this game completely unexpectedly most of the time. Like there's a scene where he goes into a room and he finds a statue being suspended by this anti-gravity system, and if you're standing on the wrong side of it when you press X on the anti-gravity things to remove it, the statue will just fall on you and kill you straight away. Did you see that?
Yeah.
It's something so innocent just suddenly just kill, and he has the most horrific scream when he dies as well. He goes, it's so loud and like terrifying. I know. And you can easily drop through like gaps in the floor because the jumping mechanic is just so awkward.
I was going to say there's actual platforming sections as well, which are just dreadful.
But it's sort of shoehorned into this survival horror mechanic. But it just works really badly, because it's so difficult to judge the gap sometimes, and you've got to do it right on the edge sometimes. And there's some really difficult jumps to make. I can see. I mean, I emulated it. I was just saving a loading state, but the fact that when you're playing this properly, you'd have to save and reload properly all the time. It was just.
I would say, in its defense, I think it's a very early example of survival horror. I think Resident Evil came first. The original Resident Evil was first to market, but like you were talking about the conventions, I think a lot of the conventions of the genre hadn't really been set yet. So they didn't really have a lot to work on. Yeah. In terms of this is how we make horror games, this is what people expect from a horror game. So, I think a lot of it was just experimentation on their part and finding their feet in this genre that wasn't really that well established yet. So
that's a very fair point.
A lot of it can be put down to that, I think. But I
mean, it was a time for experimentation like that. The 97 is bang on, sort of when these 3D games, sort of the start of these genres that were only developed as a result of going into 3D, and moving around in 3D itself, there was a lot of kind of hurdles to jump over, and loads of different companies did things completely differently, and some of them worked, some of them didn't, and it's just one of those things. It's an awkward growing up time for gaming, that era.
Yeah, definitely.
So there's a lot of other. I mean, this isn't just an exception of otherwise good games across the board. There are a lot of games like this that just tried to do something and were bettered significantly later on, but it doesn't. They had a good stab at it. It's difficult.
It goes back again to what I was saying a bit earlier about the Xbox, in that there doesn't seem to be much in the way of sort of random low budget weird experimental games. This is the kind of game I'm talking about in a way. It's not a big AAA game. It's not just a couple of guys in a bedroom. There's a team of people behind it. It's kind of this sort of middle-of-the-road, mid-budget game. Yeah. And it might not be the best game you've ever played, but it's got heart and it's got some good ideas behind it. Yeah. And that's the kind of games I really like, that kind of thing. I'd love to see more of that. Really.
Yeah, I mean, I was intrigued by the game as a whole, to the point where, possibly just because we had such a big gap between our last episode, I got right the way to nearly completing this game. I got literally to the last boss, and I just found it. I just had enough by that point. But I wanted to see what happened, and I wanted to see how much it would vary. And sure enough, towards the end of the game, there is a whole mini game that they don't reuse the mechanic for where it's almost like an auto running thing where you're on this jet bike and you've got to jump over these stalagmites and stalactites in this cave area. And I thought it's not the most perfect implementation of that, but that's quite I thought that was quite quite cool to just sort of suddenly mix it up like that, and offer a whole different thing that doesn't even fit in with the engine that they've been working to at that point.
I would say as well, there's a YouTuber I mentioned on the Pod'em Up Twitter feed. I posted on there during our hiatus some YouTubers that I thought were worth checking out. And one of them, there's a guy called Thor High Heels. And he did a sort of a review, sort of analysis type thing of Overblood. And one of the things he mentioned on there was the fact that while Resident Evil and other horror games like Alone in the Dark type survival horrors, they were all sort of static camera angles. Because of the 3D engine of Overblood, they could start experimenting a bit with sort of dynamic camera angles that moved around and sort of panned across, and that was a real, that was something really new to the fledgling survival horror genre. Really, I don't think there were any games before it. After Silent Hill came after it, Silent Hill had that kind of thing as well, but I think it was really quite bold of them, really, to start adding sort of cinematic camera angles and things to that kind of game, when everyone else was still doing the sort of static pre-render backgrounds and camera angles in that way.
I mean, when we were talking about Metal Gear Solid, we sort of mentioned it was kind of one of the first examples of a sort of a modern AAA game, in the sense that it was trying to be more grown up and offer like a realistic cinematic kind of story. I mean, this is almost doing the same sort of thing, really, albeit in a B movie style. But it's at least it's going for a serious kind of sci-fi story. It's not talking down to the audience.
No, that's true.
So it's
I think you might be the first person in recorded history to compare Overblood and Metal Gear Solid in any kind of in any kind of serious way.
Possibly.
But no, I get what you mean. You're right. It is definitely trying to tell a serious story. I mean, it's not talking down to the audience at all.
No, I mean, the golfing quality is very vast in terms of the difference between that and Metal Gear Solid. But you can, as we said before, no one sets out to make a failed game. They all want to make a good game, and you can see that they're trying to make a reasonable game, and it's not a terrible game at all, really. I don't think.
No, I think there's some games that are made purely for profit, and they're just churned out to just cash in on something, or cash in on a craze, or a movie tie-in, or some kind of license, and it's just a job for the developers. That it's just, they've been hired to make something, they're going to make it, get out of the door, and move on to the next thing. I don't have a great deal of time for those kind of games. They can work, and sometimes they don't, but this is clearly a passion project, and I think that's what I'm a real fan of. I love it when, even if it doesn't work, if you can see that someone's put some effort in and it meant something to them, and they were trying to make something good, I give it a lot of leeway for that.
Yeah, definitely.
But so would we recommend it?
Do you know what? I kind of would, as a curiosity thing. Don't take it too seriously, and don't set it aside as your next big game to conquer. But I would say just give it a go, actually, because it is it's ropey, but it's there's something about it that I don't know what it is, that is quite endearing and kind of intriguing as well, because you do kind of want to know what the truth is to the heart of the mystery behind it.
Yeah, do you know, I'd go with that as well. I'd give it a I wouldn't say a wholehearted recommendation, but like you say, as a curiosity, you can pick it up quite cheaply. It's not an expensive collector's piece. No. So if you've got a bit of pocket money left over and you just want to pick up something a bit out of the ordinary and a bit quirky, you could do a lot worse.
I think so.
It's got a charm to it, and it's got Peepo.
He does have Peepo. He gets very attached to that Peepo, doesn't he?
Oh, he does.
He's his only friend, really. Yeah.
There's no spoilers, but there's a very emotional scene.
There is. There is an emotional scene.
There's a very emotional scene. Brings the strongest of people to tears.
It does, yeah.
But you'll have to experience that for yourself. Pick it up, Overblood, PS1.
Yeah, there's a sequel as well, isn't there?
There is a sequel, yes.
I don't know anything about it. Do you?
I haven't played it.
Actually, I do know it takes place in a completely different place with I think completely different characters. I
believe so. Yeah.
But I guess the same sort of thing.
You can watch the intro for it on YouTube, which is it's Overblood 2. It's very strange. I'd like to play it. So maybe if we do another, maybe it might be one of my picks for the next Pod 'em Up year. We'll pick it up and see what it's got to offer.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, cool. So yeah, that's that. We've got our Pod 'em Up Awards next.
Yeah,
coming next.
The second annual Pod 'em Up Awards.
Yeah, exactly. For our second year. We're going to be looking back at we've got 9 games that we've covered, not including these two. I didn't bother including these two. I don't think they're going to, unless you want to. You can if you want to. There's nothing stopping you. I thought perhaps we should stick to the 9. So we take a quick break and then come back. Let me get my notes together so I can. This time I'm going to be prepared to note down the votes as we give them, because I wasn't at all last time, was I?
Okay.
Yeah, so give us a couple of minutes and we'll be right back. Right, welcome back to part 3 of episode 19 of Pod 'em Up. In case you were confused so far, what you're listening to. Pod 'em Up Awards, number 2 of 2019. We had some lovely entries in the past year. They include Tembo the Badass Elephant, ToeJam and Earl Back in the Groove, Herzog Zwei, Super Mario Land 2, Undertale, Sin and Punishment, Successor of the Skies, Drill Dozer, Metal Gear Solid, and Driver San Francisco. So those were the games we played. And now what we're going to do is I've got a list of awards that we're going to give out, and Tibbs and I are each going to pick an individual winner, our individual winner for those awards. We're going to tally them all up. We've got some favourite awards at the end. They'll get 2 points each. And then we've also got the listener award, which we put out on Twitter as well. So that's worth 2 points as well. So at the end of the thing, we're going to have loads of points added up, and one of them hopefully will have more points than any other and be crowned the winner of the 2019 Pod 'em Up Awards.
And it's going to be a bit unpredictable now, because I mean the smart money was on Overblood, but now we've excluded those two. Now we've excluded those two from the list.
Yeah, it's anyone's game.
It's anyone's game.
True. Yeah, I've thrown a spanner in the works. Yeah.
Yes.
Right, so let's get on, shall we? So
let's do it.
The first award is the Graphics Award. This is obviously for visual stuff, but it's relative to the console that it's on. So obviously a game for the PS4 is going to technically look better than a game for the Game Boy, but relative to the console that it's on, which game impressed you the most? Tips.
Okay. I was split between two here. My initial choice was going to be Metal Gear Solid, but after thought, in terms of relative to the console it appears on, I'm going to give it to Sin and Punishment, Successor of the Skies.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm going to give it to as well. Yeah.
It's just a really fantastic looking game for the Wii. It really, it's one of the games that really pushes what the Wii can do. So, I think, yeah, a solid win.
The thing about it is, it not only looks good, but it runs really smoothly as well. I think it's about 60 FPS. Must be. So it blew me away. It really did. The environment's sort of vibrant. There's loads of stuff going on. Loads of effects, loads of enemies. I don't know how they do it really. They work magic on that. But that is Treasure. They're known for that, aren't they? So really pushing Treasure, a console. They've got a history of pushing consoles, haven't they?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So I got an honourable mention of Tembo the Badass Elephant as well, just because I like the art style to it.
It's got a nice art style, yeah.
Yeah. And obviously yours honourable mention was Metal Gear Solid there, which also looked really good for the PlayStation.
I was going to say, well. I think
very atmospheric.
It cheated a little bit in some respects. Like the first level has this really cool where the puddles have a reflection of the ceiling and stuff above it, and it's got all these little graphical effects and footprints in the snow and stuff, but it all seems to be concentrated at the beginning bit of the game. And then it's not really used much after that, so it's just kind of these little cheats in the sense that to make you you at the beginning and then hope you forget about it as the game goes on.
It worked on me, to be fair. I didn't. Yeah. So there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. So next category is the music award. Self-explanatory, really. I've gone for Undertale.
I've gone for Undertale. Yeah. It can't be anything else.
There's no comparison, really. I mean, not that any of the others had terrible music, but Undertale really has one of the best video game soundtracks I've ever heard in my life. The tunes in that game are just utterly incredible.
Yeah, it's one of the few soundtracks I still listen to, just out and about. I'll just put it on just start listening to it. I love it. It's just so catchy. The songs match the characters. The character themes really suit the characters they're attached to. The level themes are, the atmospheric and catchy and lovely, and I can't praise it high enough. It's fantastic.
Yeah, during the bosses as well, it really adds some punch to the bosses. Where, it's one of those things where if you can get a great piece of music at the back of something sort of really action packed, it brings it to life so much more, and it's unbelievable doing that. So well done, Toby Fox. Herzog's Vi had quite good music as well. That's the only other honourable mention I've got. That's quite a good soundtrack to that as well.
Yeah, very good soundtrack to that. I had as an honourable mention Toe Jam and Earl.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
Just because of the funky stylings.
Oh yeah, I mean, always been a good. A lot of them are taken straight from the original couple of games, aren't they? So very good soundtrack in the first place. Yeah, very good. Next category is the Story Award. Which story captivated you the most, I suppose?
I'm going to have to say Undertale.
Yeah, me too.
Again.
I
think we're going to see a pattern emerging.
We may do, yeah, we may do. I mean, the fact that it's got so many different
almost
versions
fell off my
of
chair.
it.
No, I'm fine. It was excitement.
It was excitement, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I mean, it's different branching paths depending on what you do and who you defeat. The quality of the writing is superb. The characters, I don't know. Anything else you could say about it? I mean, it's just a brilliant story. Great characters.
It's just a brilliant story. It's the replayability as well. There's a lot of games that claim, even after you finish a game, you can go back and do X, Y, and Z, and usually it just amounts to going back and finding some hidden items in a level or something. But Undertale really does reward you. Once you think you've completed a game, the chances are you haven't actually completed it at all. And if you reload your save, you get this whole other depth to the game that you might have missed before. So it really does encourage multiple playthroughs, taking different choices to see the different endings. And I think I think we mentioned this in our initial review of it, though. You can do what's known as a genocide run, where you kill everything that you come across. I've never done a genocide run in the game because I like the characters so much. I don't want to play this game I don't want to play it going through and killing all these characters because they're so good.
Do you know what? I've just got the physical version on Switch just this week, and I am doing the genocide route purely because I want to fight Sans at the end and hear his music, which is supposed to be really good. And I have this thing where games that I like anyway, I don't like to hear the music before I've heard it in the game. You know, because video game music, especially the soundtrack, means a lot to me. I don't want to, because everyone says it's a brilliant piece of music.
Oh, it is.
I've been keeping it from myself because I've been meaning to get around to playing it again, just so I can get to the end of the genocide route and listen to it. And unfortunately, that means killing a lot of characters, which I'm not happy about. But
I mean,
I don't know.
If can handle that, mate, then
I've only just started it. It seems to be, because I thought it was just a case of literally everything you see kill, but you have to kill a certain number of enemies in each place as well. So you have to wander around, triggering random encounters and stuff. So it's going to take a little bit longer than I expected. But anyway, so overwhelming success there from Undertale. Metal Gear Solid was an honourable mention. Also, a great piece of storytelling. I mean, they're actually pretty difficult to. Not much between those two actually, because Metal Gear Solid does have a really good story. To be fair.
Oh, Metal Gear Solid has a fantastic story, but I think Undertale won it just because of the emotional impact.
Yes, it had a lot more emotional impact, I think. To be fair.
And I think that just put it ahead a bit. But Metal Gear Solid would be my very, very close second. Yeah,
sure, good. The character award makes its return. This is for an individual character in any of these games. I've actually gone for Solid Snake in Metal Gear Solid.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Undertale has some amazing characters in it, but there was something about Snake that subverted my expectations of him, because I kind of had this image in my mind. A lot of these kind of more, I lump him with a more modern character in the sense that, you know, as we said before, he kind of a lot of this game kind of started the modern AAA of more serious kind of characters, and I always likened him to sort of a bit of a Master Chief kind of, almost like a blank slate kind of thing. But to discover he's actually got sort of a past, and kind of he is a hard kind of guy, but you can see some emotions sort of cracking through there, and he kind of, people mean stuff to him, and I thought that was interesting to see. I think possibly because of my expectations of it, but he surprised me of how interesting a character he is actually. So that's the reason he got that award, and he's also got a very surprisingly normal first name, which made me smile at the end of the game. Yeah. So
that's
I've gone.
A good choice. Not what I expected, but yeah.
No. I wanted to go for something a bit different because I don't know. It's not to do a disservice to Undertale because it's got some amazing characters. Papyrus is my honourable mention because he's just a hilarious character. But I don't know. I just wanted to. I don't know. I felt like that deserved to be honoured, I think.
Yeah.
So, how about you?
I'm going to go with a character from Undertale. I'm going to go with Sans.
Okay. Yeah. Absolutely.
I think it's because of the. Like I say, I haven't played the Genocide run in Undertale, but I have seen videos and playthroughs of it, and I've seen the final battle with Sans.
Yeah.
And it's the fact that he's a much deeper character than he appears to be at the beginning. When you first meet him, it's clear that he knows more about what's going on than he's letting on.
Yeah.
But when the story unfolds and you see it from all the different angles, he's got so much more to do with things than that you initially realise. And he's just a funny, likeable character, but he's also so integral to everything. Yeah. I think he's just a great character.
It's also the dynamic between him and his brother Papyrus as well that I love.
Papyrus, definitely.
It's a proper like child-brother relationship where one of them takes things very seriously and the other one is just taken taking the piss out of the other one. It's just
Yeah.
it's just really funny to see, and the writing again is hilarious.
I can say that the writing is just all the characters are so well written in it, but Sans is a standout for me. So another vote for Undertale for me. So Sans gets that one.
Yeah, not surprising at all. So the level design award, this could be an interesting one. So it's kind of broad. It depends how you interpret level design, I suppose. But it's just the sort of the design of the gameplay, perhaps let's call it. And kind of the intricacies of each level. I've gone for Drill Dozer on this one.
Okay.
I thought it had some really interesting level ideas, some interesting level layouts, kind of non-linear in terms of you'd go in one area and you couldn't get through, so you'd have to go back and do another. It's nothing groundbreaking, but I liked it. I think I liked, how they sort of paced the levels, and the fact that they went on for so long as well is quite an achievement in itself. Really, it's just the longest levels I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, they're very long levels, especially for handheld.
Yeah, but they kept you interested. They didn't get samey. They kept introducing new things, and you kind of wanted to keep going, really. And then there's the whole aspect of getting, unlocking the 3 different drill strengths to get to areas that you couldn't get to before. That kind of adds extra layers to it. So I've gone for Drill Dozer on that one with quite a few honourable mentions actually. I think Mario Land 2 also. It didn't do anything unexpected, but it was just a good, solid platformer. It had some nice ideas that you don't normally get in other Mario games. Sin and Punishment also kind of mixed things up quite a lot. There were some lovely sort of set pieces in there. Kind of different ideas, and Metal Gear Solid as well, just for the variety of stuff going on. I think it's just you could talk a lot about Metal Gear Solid, but it's just a great game, really, and it's just the gameplay is fantastic. So it's a difficult one, that one, because there's so many. You can almost give it to any of the games, really, to some extent.
You could, really.
But I've gone for Drill Dozer. Just I think it deserves something, at least.
Yeah, good choice.
Yeah.
I gave the level design award to I wasn't sure if it really classed as levels, really, but I gave it to Driver San Francisco.
Yeah, okay. Yes, no, I know what you mean. Go on.
Particularly because I thought of that the mission where you had to come first and second in a race.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really neat thing that I hadn't seen before, and I thought that was a really good design that took advantage of the mechanics that had been set up in the game.
Yeah, definitely.
And there's lots of little examples like that. There's lots of little, like I say, it's hard to describe them as levels per se, but the ones where you have to get someone's heart rate up to a certain level.
Yeah, it's challenge. It's more challenges, really, but I think. It's difficult to name this award, but it kind of stretches for those things. Just the content of the game. How much does it vary?
Of the game. Yeah. So when I was thinking, about all the different games. I think in terms of what I thought had the best kind of design, I kept coming back to Driver San Francisco. So that one gets my vote.
Yeah.
I would say again, much the same as you in terms of honourable mentions and runners-up. Pretty much any game in the list would qualify, really. Tembo the Badass Elephant. I really like the use of the cannons that shoot him across the stages, and ploughing through boxes and stuff is always great fun.
Very satisfying, yeah.
Very satisfying mechanics on it. Drill Dozer, especially when you play it with the vibration, is great. So it's a tough one to nail down, really, but Driver gets my vote.
Okay, yeah, good. It's a good chance to mix things up a bit and get some votes for the other games, I think. Next one is the I've renamed this. This used to be the Deep Award because I think it came from describing Ghost Trick last time, didn't it? We were in a deep experience. Basically, I would call it the Immersive Award. Basically, it's not an arcadey pick up and play game. It's a game that's got a story to it. It's a game that's got a certain degree of longevity to it, and an experience that you kind of go through in chapters. Kind of a story. Basically, it's similar to the Story Award, I suppose, but I don't know. Yeah, but I mean, what did you?
I kind of get what you mean, and I hope I know what. It's hard to find the right name for the award, but
Yeah,
I know what you mean. I hope people will get what we mean by it as well.
yeah. So what did you go for?
It was really, really close.
Yeah.
It was between Undertale and Metal Gear Solid for me.
Yeah. Same for me exactly.
But Metal Gear Solid just peaked it.
Okay, that's good because I've gone
Yeah.
for Undertale.
Okay. The only reason I went for it
Yeah.
is when you sent me the rundown of the award categories. It was the phrase. What did you put exactly? Immersive award. Basically, a long, involved game.
Yeah.
Undertale isn't that long. It's a fantastic story. It's a fantastic game. I love it to bits. But you can get through it if you can get through it quite quickly. It's not going to take up a huge chunk of your time. I suppose the same about Metal Gear Solid. If you know where to go and what you're doing, you can get through it quite quickly. But for some reason, it feels more. It feels longer, not in a bad way. Not like it seems to drag on, but it just feels. I don't know. It just feels more.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. There is something about it. I don't know if it's because you're pretty much in the same place the whole time, whereas Undertale you're traveling to different areas. It feels.
Yeah.
It feels. It sounds like it's a criticism. It's not. It's just that sort of. It's all contained in the same area, so I don't know. I know exactly what you mean, but I don't know how to describe it. There's just something about it that is. And it's also the sort of multi-layered story as well, and all these tangled bits and these kind of twists and things, plot twists and all that. It's kind of keeps you. It does keep you immersed, definitely. I was immersed in both of them. I mean,
it was so close, honestly. I mean, it was sort of toss of a coin kind of thing. It was really down to the wire. But
I mean, these two clash on a few of these awards.
Yeah,
it's kind of going one way or the other. So it's Metal Gear is a very strong competitor to Undertale, but I think for me, Undertale I just had to think which game did I want to keep coming back to the most, sort of every night. And it kind of had to be Undertale, really. I did have that with Metal Gear. I did want to keep coming back to it, but Undertale, just because it subverts your expectations at every turn, and it I just wanted to see what would happen, what was coming next. I was just glued to it, really. So it was Undertale for those reasons.
Yeah, fantastic.
Okay. The next one is the opposite of this award, so shouldn't really be open to either of those games, in theory.
Okay.
This is the Arcadia Award, so it's the pick up and play award. Which game is the easiest to sort of relax, to sit back and relax to, and have a quick session, and just have some fun with, really. So I've gone for Sin and Punishment on this one.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it is a story in the sense it's got levels and you progress through, but. The gameplay is just, you can just sort of sit back and zone out almost as you sort of shoot all these different kind of enemies and get through the bosses and stuff. And it's just a sort of a quick hit of action. I mean, the levels are fairly long, but it's just you don't. I mean, the checkpoints in there means you don't have to complete a level in one sitting, so you can just have a quick go on it, and you'd have a lot of fun doing so. So I've lent towards Sin and Punishment for the arcade one. Honourable mentions: Toe Jam and Earl. Good little, you can have a quick session on that. I don't know what else to say about it, really, but it's Toe Jam and Earl. It's good. Mario Land 2 as well. Just a quick bit of platforming. Yeah,
Mario Land 2 was my pick.
Okay, cool.
It's just, like you say, it's just great to pick up and play. It's just perfect, really, for you just want to play something quickly. You don't want to get too involved. No big storylines to keep track of. Nothing too complex, but enough challenge to you're not just going to get bored playing it. You're not just going over the same thing over and over again. There's plenty of challenge there to keep you on the edge of your skills. But just great fun to just pick up and play whenever. Yeah, I can see your argument for Sin and Punishment. I didn't. That wasn't in my shortlist really, but I can see the argument for that now. This my second runner-up was going to be Tembo the Badass Elephant,
Oh
and
yeah,
then
definitely.
Toe Jam and Earl Back in the Groove. Both because for much the same reasons. You can there's no complex storylines to remember. It's nothing too intense. It's just you can just relax, play it for a short while, put it down again, come back later, and it's all good. So, but yeah, I think Super Mario Land 2 best fits into that category for me. So,
cool.
There we go.
Yep. So I've got two more awards before we get to the favourite award. These are two new awards. They weren't in the last awards episode. The first one is the Innovation Award. This is for a game that breaks all the rules of its genre and really kind of does something extraordinary and new. Unsurprisingly, I've gone for Undertale.
I have as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, it's just. I don't think it could be anything else really, because it's just.
I had Driver as a runner-up.
Oh yeah, true. That Driver was a good,
because it does break sort of conventions of standard racing games and open world games.
Definitely,
but nothing does it like Undertale. So
no, the fact that the battle system alone is just
a
work of art. It really is, because it's not. It takes all the sort of kind of tedious elements of normal turn-based battles, in the fact that the menu-driven system, and you tend to just pick the same moves over and over again, and that kind of thing. It makes your attacks right, simple, basic. Can you hit this line on time or not? And the closer you get to it, the better your attack is. And then for defending against their attacks, it becomes a bullet hell shooter. But the creativity of all of these different bullet hell things, where you take on these different monsters, and they all have different attack patterns, and they're so wildly different and so wildly ingenious and clever and funny, that it's not like nothing else I've played before. It really isn't.
No, exactly. It just turns everything you expect to be playing from sort of an indie retro style RPG. It just turns it all on its head. Very quickly you realise nothing is going to be as you expect it to be during the game.
No.
And there's no way you can predict what's going to happen next. It always keeps you guessing. It's great. I love it.
Yep. Fantastic. Yeah. And honourable mention Driver as well, as you said.
Yeah.
The next one is again the opposite of that. It's the Archetype Award. Which game plays it by the book but just does it so well? It's a textbook example of the genre that it's in. If you want to just a really good platformer or a really good fighting game or whatever, this is the game for you. So what have you gone for
that? Super Mario Land 2.
Yeah, exactly the same as well. Very good.
If you were going to introduce someone to games, and they said they wanted a textbook example of a basic platform game, a good fun platform game, it'd be Super Mario Land 2.
Yeah.
Or just a great game that anyone can enjoy. It just does what it does perfectly.
Yeah.
It's not massively innovative. It's not too basic. It's
that fine line in between.
It's just a perfect platform game.
Yeah, it does. It's kind of innovative compared to other Mario games of the time, because there are elements of it that are very different to other Mario games, but at the same time still strictly within what you'd expect from a typical platformer.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, and I think that's a perfect balance to have, really, because the levels are quite varied. The stuff you do is never, as I say, never breaks the boundaries, but it's all kind of good stuff. It's clever stuff within what it's trying to do. So definitely Super Mario Land 2 for both of us.
Yeah.
My honourable mention was Sin and Punishment, although that is kind of different, but it is a great rail shooter. If I was going to tell someone, if someone was asking me what rail shooter should I play, Sin and Punishment would probably be at the top of my list, just because it's perfect for what it does. Really, it's shooting on a rail and a lot of variety in there. So
Yeah, excellent. I didn't really have an honourable mention with that one. I think
No.
for me it was just it was Super Mario Land 2 was the first thing I thought of,
Definitely,
and there
yeah.
wasn't any really runner up for me. So,
No, fair enough.
but yeah, I can see Sin and Punishment for in terms of rail shooters. Yeah, I think it's a very good example.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, before we get to our favourite award, we got the matter of the listener vote. So I put out on Twitter and tried to get as many people voting as I could. All the different games, see which votes which game got the most votes, and the winner was Undertale.
Really?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, Undertale. Not by much, but it's one of those ones that could go either way, because you could get a random fan of a certain game sort of retweeting it, and then if they've got loads of followers, could have got loads of tweets, and it could have just been a completely random one off a wild card kind of thing. But no, it turned out to be Undertale. So
brilliant.
Yeah, even more
Good
points
choice.
for Undertale. And yeah, so our favourites. Would you like to go first, or shall
I? I'll go first. I think it's going to be a bombshell choice. This one. It's going to be Undertale.
Yeah. And mine is also Undertale. I think it's pretty unanimous, really. I mean, it's not a mark against any of the other games at all, because they're all brilliant in their own ways. They're all. I've had
a really good selection.
It has. I've had fun with every single one of these games. Yeah. But there is just something so special about Undertale, so different, that it's. And as we were saying in the break, it ticks so many of these boxes, even though they're so different. Like, you wouldn't expect an immersive sort of story-based RPG to have a bullet hell element that stands shoulder to shoulder with any other bullet hell element you could find in any bullet hell game. It's just it's nuts, really, how many boxes it ticks. And it was always going to end up like this, I think, just for that alone.
I think it was.
No matter how varied you make these awards. So it's kind of nuts, really. I mean, we've kind of been through so many different good points about it that there isn't much more to say, really.
There isn't much more we can say about it. No. Is it worth tallying up the points of the...
It isn't, really. I mean, I can tell you what everyone else, how close all the others were. I'm not even sure if I've got the correct number for Undertale just then, but, okay, so...
I think it's clearly a landslide for Undertale, though, isn't it?
Yeah, so... Sadly, there were no points for our first three games: Temple of the Balanced Elephant, ToeJam and Earl, and Herzog Zwei. But they're all really good games in their own right. I think we've mentioned, all of them in honourable mentions. So, good for them. With 1 point each was Drill Dozer and Driver San Francisco. 2 points for Metal Gear Solid, actually, which is surprising, because there's two games above that, Sin and Punishment and Mario Land 2. And I think because Metal Gear Solid clashed with Undertale so often on the same kind of categories, and Undertale just came out on top for most of them. I think it's perhaps unfairly further down than it should be, but I think it was going for the same categories, whereas the other two went for different categories. So Sin and Punishment and Mario Land 2 both had 3 votes each. But overwhelmingly, I've got 14 votes written down here for Undertale. I'm not even sure that's correct. I might have missed a few. But either way, you're looking at a landslide there that I was completely expecting, to be honest. It doesn't come as a surprise to me at all. Yeah, I mean...
but it has, like I say, it's been a really strong year for games. So, I mean, there's not a bad game in the list.
No,
so,
not at all. Not at all. I'd recommend,
fully
recommend
each
and
on
every
any of the
single
games.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
that
about concludes it. Toby Fox, if you want to get your certificate, please give us a shout. Capcom never picked up theirs last year.
Capcom never got back to us.
They never got back to us, no. So, Toby, please...
I'm shocked by that.
Yeah, I am shocked.
Toby Fox, get in touch.
Yeah.
We'll get your certificate. It's beautiful.
We'll put it in the post. I'll put some drawings on it, It'd be lovely.
Oh, it'll take pride of place on your mantelpiece.
It will. The Pod'em Up Award 2019 goes to Undertale.
new year of Pod 'em Up ahead of us.
Yeah, year 3 of Pod 'em Up. We're going to put this as part of year 2, even though it's in year 3, because it's we should have done it then if circumstances hadn't happened. So this is the end of year 2 of Pod 'em Up. A really successful year for games. Had a lot of fun with it, and who knows what year 3 will bring. Well, I tell you what, I know what year 3 will bring, for the start with.
Yeah, do tell.
Jet Set Radio.
Oh, excellent.
Straight in there. Yeah, this is a game I have tried to play 3 times before and never really got on with it. But I never really gave it enough time to gel, I think, because I love Sega, I love the Dreamcast. This is a poster child for the Dreamcast. So, and it's a game I should like because it just looks so fun. It looks really cool. And it's a game I really want to sit down and give a proper try to. So this is my chance. And if I don't like it after that, I'll probably never play it again. But I'm going to give it a go.
I spent a long time playing this in 2003 to 2004.
Okay.
I just spent hours and hours and hours and hours playing it. So, a very strong start. Okay,
brilliant. So your opinion's decided already. Mine could go either way, technically. You never know. Yeah. But I'm hoping I'm going to like it. There's something about the controls and not being able to pull off some of the QuickTime events, I want to call them, from what I remember. Like the graffiti bits.
Yeah, the graffiti bits.
I struggled with it a bit and I just got a bit frustrated, but I really want to give it a proper try. So,
are you going to be playing? What format are you playing? On PC, Dreamcast?
I'll probably go for the Dreamcast original, albeit emulated. But I've got the PC version as well. I mean, I could try that a bit, but if you'd recommend Dreamcast, I'll go for that.
Yeah, stick with the Dreamcast original, I think. Just because that's the one I played and I liked it.
Yeah.
I've got the PC one, but I didn't really play that much into it. I
don't know how much it differs.
I've got it on 360 as well. I don't know if there's much difference in it, to be honest. But the Dreamcast is the way to go, I think. For
okay, you get the original experience that way, don't you? So
yeah,
Okay, I think that about sums it up then. Really, I think that's all we needed to say. A bit of a bumper episode. Managed to fit a lot in.
Yeah. Thank you for sticking with us during our hiatus.
Yeah, we really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, we do appreciate it. It means a lot. It's been a tough time for us both, but it's good to be back on the horse.
Yeah, feels really good. Feels good to talk to you again, mate. And catch up with things a bit game wise and have a bit of a laugh. And hope to do it again next month with Jet Set Radio.
Yeah, absolutely.
So. If you want to get in touch with us, we're always on Twitter at PodEmUp. You can email us podemup@gmail.com, or you can go to our little website podemup.net. And please tell your friends about us. Leave reviews and stuff wherever you want to leave a review.
And tweet Toby Fox and let him know he won the coveted PodEmUp award.
Yeah, and tell him to pick up his certificate.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Right. Until next time, we shall say bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Steve, what's up, dude?
Yeah, no, man. I'll go to a party with you, dude. Yeah, I'll just meet you there, okay? Sweet. So I show up to the door and Steve isn't there, and I don't know where I am. It's a very unfamiliar place. in the city. And the door swings open and it's just like 50 cats in a house with no one, just like 50 cats. And I'm like, it's a cat party. Man, it stinks in here. Cat party. This is kind of creeping me out a bit. When life throws you lemons, 'cause life throws you lemons, you toss a cat party. Did they ever tear the crap out of this place? It's a cat party. I just wanna party with you, but if I can't, cats will do. It's a cat I just wanna party with you, but if I can't, cats will do. Steve, man, where are you, dude? You said this was gonna be like a rager, man. I don't know where I am. I cannot tell you that, but I can tell you one thing is that I love cats. I don't know where I am. I cannot tell you that, but I can tell you one thing is that I love cats. Cat, it's a cat party. Just me and 50 cats throwing it down, making all kinds of sounds. It's a cat party. Steve, dude, where are you, man? I thought we were gonna go to a party. What is this, dude? You were like, yeah, man, it's like this house is gonna be rad. All these everybody from the